We were treated to a feast of football on Tuesday night at the Abbey as a thrilling encounter ended in a 90th minute penalty that Ben Knight tucked home. As a famous IT technician once said, what were you worried about? Welcome to the Friday preview show, one of the many in the coming months, as the Tuesdays rack up that will not be just a preview but also a review show. Today we're going to look over that Shrewsbury win on Tuesday night and cast our eyes on a trip up to Oldham this Saturday, and it's a pleasure to be joined by my very good friend Tom Walker. How are you, Chief? Are you recovered from Tuesday night?
Yeah, just about warmed up. Feast of football. I'm absolutely starving.
Yeah,
I did not chow on Tuesday night.
Nothing to eat. Yeah. It wasn't much of a feast for the eyes, was it? I missed the Tranmere game, which was obviously a good decision in the end, and decided to come on Tuesday instead. Which says a lot about the sort of decision making I do. But I can imagine your feelings coming out of it, even though 3 points in the bag for both of them were very different.
Yeah, yes, definitely. On Saturday, I came at the ground and I couldn't stop saying how much fun I'd had, and couldn't stop saying, "God, that was entertaining. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
Such a good watch. Loved every minute of it." Yeah, Tuesday was quite different, but the result was the same, really. And
3 points is 3 points, isn't it, Tom? And a clean sheet on Tuesday. You love a clean sheet.
Yeah, it's always pleasing to keep a clean sheet.
It's a platform.
A platform upon which we can build, which is good.
It's good. It's one of those games Tuesday night where when it comes to a preview show, you start writing this running order and you think, oh, good, we've got a game to review. So that gives us a lot to go through, and I can go through the game. I went to start writing and I was like, okay, so I've got two things I can say. I'll start with this one. 48 hours on. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. I'm all right. I mean, it was a horrible game of football to watch, and we weren't very good, but we did get 3 points. I think it's one of those things, like you see a lot of that cliche coming around, which is along the lines of playing badly and winning is a sign of a good team, which I'm not really sure that I buy too much, to be honest. I do understand it a little bit, but to me, the sign of a good team is playing well and winning.
Scoring loads of goals.
Yeah, which is obviously what we did on Saturday and what we didn't do on Tuesday. But I guess there's quite a lot of positives to take out of it. The obvious one is the result and the fact that, somehow we find a way, despite probably not being significantly the better team and probably not really the better team at all. I think, on the balance of play and because of how we played and because of how sloppy we were at times, I think probably a point would have probably been about right. And I'd kind of started to accept the 0-0 draw where the penalty got given. So, we did kind of get away with one, but the positive is that we did win the game. 5 league wins in a row? Up
13
to
unbeaten.
Yeah. Like all this stuff is good, and yet somehow we're coming out of the ground, almost not negative, but just a bit kind of like, all right, anyway, on we go. Almost as if it hadn't happened, just kind of brush it off and go again, sort of thing. The other positive is, all right, look, we weren't great, and obviously we'll discuss individual performances, I guess, a little bit, and where things maybe not went wrong, but didn't necessarily go right. We were never in any danger of losing the game at all. Like, I know Shrewsbury had their game plan and they quite clearly came to try and walk away with the point, which they obviously very nearly did. But I mean, even having said that, we limited them to quite literally nothing. I think there was that one shot from a corner, which obviously goes to the wide to the right of the post. It's just a snapshot. There's nothing in it. They've not created anything.
That's it up until the free kick they had, which was literally the last kick of the game, I'm pretty sure. So they had 2 shots in the entire match.
And
0.1 XG, 0.07 of that being the free kick. Think about that. So 96 minutes of the game, they've had 0.03 XG.
Yeah, and look, like when you talk about your prospects for the season, and I get that Shrewsbury are horrendous, and plenty of messages just like off random people about the Shrewsbury fan that we had on the
same. Oh my God,
on the preview show.
It's just quickly worth saying that you'd obviously not heard that when you recorded the show, so that's why it wasn't commented on, but it is worth just touching on that.
No,
I genuinely felt so sorry for him.
Yeah,
the guy was at rock bottom.
I just thought, like, this guy's been through enough without seeing his team concede a 91st minute penalty and they're losing the game. But they're crap, right? Like they are. And they've obviously sat their manager on the back of it, and on the evidence we've seen, well, definitely on Tuesday night, maybe not so much at their place, but I guess certainly across the course of the season, that's well deserved. But you talk about your prospects for the season, and if you're a team that can quite systematically and very regularly limit your opposition to literally nothing, then you're probably in a pretty good spot. And I think that's probably one of the big positives to take from Tuesday, obviously result aside. So yeah, maybe not the feast of football that you did tease in the intro, but you know, it's a big step in the right direction. And look, we can't always be at our scintillating best. Some would argue we've not really been at that much, if at all, this season, but maybe other than the second half against Tranmere. But it's a win, and it's a big win.
But maybe scintillating best is defined differently for different teams, and maybe Neil Harris's scintillating best or his teams are keeping it incredibly tight at the back. And the point I was going to just make on the defensive performance on Tuesday night is it's not a one-off, and I think that's the important thing. It's not like that's the first time we've seen it happen. In fact, if you go right back to the start of this run, game 1 of 13, Salford away, we restricted them to 0 shots on target, which was an impressive thing to do, to go away to a team who are going to be challenging right up there, were at the time and are now. And restrict them to that. And this is a step further, playing, as you've already said, a much worse side. So it's definitely worth saying that's a massive plus. I guess it's one of those things, maybe, Tom, that it's about the expectation that you go into the game with. I get the feeling there was a wider expectation after Saturday, and especially that half an hour spell, and obviously the run we've been on in general, that this side comes to town, and what people are expecting, or maybe like fancifully hoping, is that we dominate it and win it 3-0 and end of story. Harris made quite a big point in the presser before the Oldham game when he was asked about Tuesday night to say, well, it's really hard to break down 10 men behind the ball. And do you have some sympathy for that? That we'll talk about individual performances in a second, but in general, it's not as easy as just, oh, we're playing at home to 21st in the league, we should win 3-0, is it? Football doesn't really work like that in real life.
No, I mean, it'd be great if it did, but it doesn't. I guess maybe on the flip side of that, and I guess it's maybe a slightly separate point. We did create some chances, like it wasn't like we didn't create anything. It wasn't like we were totally awful. We created 2 more than presentable chances in the first half. Obviously, one of them is obviously Kai going through on goal. I think Appere can do a little bit better. I think, with a shot from sort of the edge of the box. I think he can do better just after half time as well, by the way, when he's only a couple of yards out. But there is a world where you slice through Shrewsbury. I think, what was it, 5-10 minutes in, when Kai goes through on goal, that hits the back of the net. It's a very, very different game. But yeah, like it's obviously difficult, to break teams down like that. And it presents such a different challenge because, I guess with respect, that's kind of been us in some scenarios, hasn't it? Like, we just sit in, make it difficult, and then obviously we've had the quality really to beat teams on the counter and beat teams. Because the players we've got at this level, we're just going to find a way to create a chance where that we can maybe take. Worryingly, I think Shrewsbury maybe created a bit of a blueprint for maybe other teams that we'll come up against, but our job now as a team in the top 3, because especially at home, because teams are going to come to us and look at the best home form in the league, which obviously what we've got, and a team in the top 3 and well in I guess the title race, really, which is what it is. Teams are not going to come here to win the game. They're not, like so we're going to have to get used to it. And unfortunately, like it's not really an excuse. Like you do have to find a way. You got to adapt. You got to be quicker with the ball. You got to be slicker with the ball. And the one thing that was so frustrating on Tuesday night was just how often we turned it over. Like, it felt like pretty much every time, particularly in central midfield, we had the ball. It was like, I don't think we completed more than about 2 or 3 passes at all in the first half. I thought it was terrible. But yeah, like, it's difficult to break down a low block. I think a point that Harris made, I think it would have been after his after the game on Tuesday, not in the press that he did in the sort of preview for Oldham, if that makes sense. It's just like, it's not easy to like keep going, like, at this point in the season. I think that's the thing I've got a lot of sympathy with, is like, I mean, you come off a game like Saturday, which was like a bit of a barn burner. It was like very end to end, and like, it probably does sap the life out of you. And then you got to, get yourself up, go again. And it's an unchanged team, by the way. And I know that arguably maybe we could make changes and maybe look a little bit fresher like that. But you've got to go again. You've got to play against a team who are going to sit in. Are going to make it difficult for you. Are going to sort of play for time, which is what they were doing. And yeah, I think it's fair that we'd found a way. Obviously, on another way, on another day we don't. But like we've said, on another day maybe Kai puts away that chance in the first half, and it's a totally different game. So yeah, fair credit to us for finding a way. But yeah, I think we need to we do need to be better against that
Yeah.
sort of team.
But that's not been the standard, has it, over the last 13 games? That's the thing. I just went on the Oldham pod, which we'll hear from them in a bit, and their game was called off on Tuesday. So for some mad reason, they put themselves through Cambridge United Shrewsbury on Tuesday night, and they were they were like, is that normal for a team on the back of a 13-game unbeaten run who've just gone into the automatics? And I was like, well, no, not really, to be honest. So we put in a far higher performance level than that in recent weeks, in January, in 2026 even. I do want to just touch on one point you made there, which is there's probably two things where I've got a genuine like gripe for Tuesday, or a genuine criticism. And one of them is actually the lineup. I thought it was, and this isn't hindsight. Sorry, we said it on the train when the lineups came out. I thought it was an obvious night for changes. Personally, I thought it was a really easy night to give Nevitt a start. Personally, someone hungry, someone looking to challenge Appere, set the standard high for Appare's finishing, because he's scored 1 in 21 now. And I thought Hoddle in the middle of the park. It's not that Hoddle's played badly. I just thought it was an easy night to bring McLaughlin in and mix it up a little bit. Fresh legs. There was a lot of energy on Saturday expended, as you just said. It was a intense game, and I just thought it was an easy night for a couple of changes. And I kind of thought first half, all those misplaced passes you just referenced, well, maybe not directly a result of that, but I thought we saw there looked like some legginess to me first half, which I think I genuinely was surprised that Harris didn't make a few changes pre-game. Were you?
Yeah, I think so. I think particularly up top, because Appare's been he's found it difficult, and
Yeah.
whether it's through fatigue, because he's obviously played a lot of football having come back from being injured, or something else. Like, it doesn't really matter. Like the end result is the same. Like, it's just not quite clicking up there. Nevitt came on to good effect. Lavery came on to brilliant effect on Saturday. So that was the obvious change. I probably wouldn't have been crying out for Hoddle to be dropped like quite as much, maybe at the time, but definitely up front. And obviously, having seen what we've seen on Tuesday and the way it played out, maybe one change in centre mid might have been good. But yeah, I think we do have options now. Like, it's not like, it's a threadbare squad. And I know that May is injured and Kouassi's injured, and obviously we'd love to have them back in. And obviously, hopefully, maybe we'll do a bit more in the window. We'll have to see. But like there is the option to change it up. It's not like we couldn't have done it at all. So yeah, I think that's maybe one thing that I was a little bit surprised by. And I think it definitely does explain the sort of almost like rustiness. Really, rustiness is probably the wrong word, but I think it's just.
It's like legginess, isn't it? There was just like, it's just almost like there's 10% missing from them, and kind of not in an effort way. I guess it's just energy. Maybe I don't know. It's hard to describe. It just wasn't quite clicking, was it, for so much of Tuesday?
No, I think we were so poor on the ball on Tuesday night. I mean, it wasn't even like misplaced passes. The amount of time that we just kicked it out of play, or like it was miscontrolled, like on the byline or something, just rolled out for a throw in. Like, it happened probably like. I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I reckon just off the top of my head, I can think of like 5, 10, maybe like 15 examples of where like the ball was just kicked away. And look, obviously we did find a way, but like a better team than Shrewsbury would punish us even at this level.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I want to talk about one specific moment where there was a misplaced pass, which was it's about 60 minutes into the game, I think. We're sort of half on the break, or we've nicked the ball off him, and there's few running down the right. Pelly's got the ball in the middle of the park, and his pass like dissects two of them, goes straight out of play. He gets quite a bit of grief from the main stand, but that's not necessarily the moment I want to talk about. It's actually he was then taken off like straight after. Harris whipped him basically straight off, and he got like what sounded like jeers or boos. I don't know how you want to describe him from the main stand when he came off, and Harris kind of turned around, and there was like a calm down. There was a gesture of some sort, and he seems that Harris himself, like, it's quite interesting in the presser, just the Oldham preview presser, talking about kind of laughing it off, understanding fans getting angry, appreciating that we've set a standard which he's proud of, asking people to enjoy themselves, but also saying that he doesn't want people to be clapping players, passing a ball off the pitch. They want there to be a standard to be set. So I thought he dealt with it quite well. if he'd have dealt with it that well, had we drawn 0-0, would be a separate question. But the incident itself, Tom, I'd love to know your thoughts on it because there's a lot of chat on it on the Substack chats after the game on untheabbeystand.com. I kind of hated it as an incident. I hated the idea of like a centre mid who's been like pretty much a mainstay in an amazing run of ours, 13 games, powered us up to third in the league, getting jeered off for like at worst a bad night at the office.
Yeah, stupid. It's daft, isn't it?
Yeah.
And like we were stood in the NRE and we were saying exactly the same thing at the time. I mean, you mentioned there that he's been pretty much a mainstay. We're 13 unbeaten in the league. It's what I think now our best ever.
The longest unbeaten run in the EFL, we should say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So our longest ever unbeaten run as a football club in probably like 70 odd years of football league history, something like that. I don't know exactly what it is, but a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Pennyrock's playing every single game other than the Crew game, which he was suspended for, and he got suspended, by the way, in a 2-0 win for picking up a yellow card and a 2-0 win at Barrow, which he scored both goals. He's been. I know that early in the season there was a bit of chat, and the profile of player he is and where he's come from and the levels that he's played at recently, I get that it attracts attention. I get that we expect that he's probably earning a wage which will attract attention, but he's just been good. Like he's just been good. It's so obvious. And I know that earlier in the season there was a little bit of what value is he bringing, this, that, and the other. Like there's a bit of conversation around it. Like you're daft if you can't see that he's been really good for us. And yeah, like and the weird thing is on Tuesday night I didn't think he was that bad.
No, neither did I.
I thought first half, like particularly he was okay. Like I thought he was one of the ones that was sort of piecing things together a little bit. I'm not going to go overboard on it and say that he was playing well, but he certainly wasn't as bad as like Hoddle next to him, for example. And like I think what Harris says is absolutely right. Like you do have to take the rough with the smooth with these things a little bit. Like as much as I rate someone like Penny Ruddock, like there's a reason that he's not playing in the Championship or the Premier League anymore. Like
100%.
There are going to be nights where he's not like 7 or 8 out of 10, and Tuesday night was one of them. And obviously, I can understand it like from a fan's perspective as well, because sometimes there are those moments where it's a bit like the straw that breaks the camel's back. Like you get so frustrated, you think you've got through it, and then you pass it, and then you give it away again, and it's really frustrating. And like we're there as much as anyone with that, but like I do think you're a little bit stupid if you're sort of jeering a player like Pelly Ruddock off the pitch, because there ain't many better midfielders than him in the league, and there certainly aren't many better at the club. So I'd like to see him, hopefully he'll get through that. Hopefully he'll be okay. It doesn't need to be a big deal. Like I say, Harris is trying to laugh it off a little bit, but probably a bit of a reality check is needed, I think. I suppose these are the sort of weirdly positive problems that you make for yourself, aren't they? Like when you go on a run like this, because like your expectations do rise so much. And probably for us, I guess a little bit of it is that we feel that we're maybe a bit better than the level that we're playing at. Like, if we're speaking honestly, because obviously we've just spent the last few years in the level above. So when it is a terrible Shrewsbury team coming to town that we did the double over last season and pasted at the Abbey with like Dallin and Dillu playing for us, you think it should be quite straightforward, but it just isn't always the case. So yeah,
but surely like the people who have sat, sorry to interrupt, but the people who have sat in the main stand have surely been to see Cambridge United for a lot of times over the years. Surely they know that by now. Like if you're expecting that, there are plenty of other options for football teams that you can go and watch. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you really expecting here?
Well, I think it's one of those things where, like, if you can't enjoy it now, then when can you?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Just we've come off the arse end of what basically 3 entire seasons, been battered every week, and there were some proper shit players in that team. And
boo some of them. My God, I've booed some of them. Don't get me wrong, but like,
although to be fair, we don't know for sure that it wasn't the same people. Like that, they definitely weren't like jeering Gary Gardner out of Adam Brooks. Like we don't know that for sure. That could have happened. So maybe the balance is there. But yeah, I mean, look, you see it at Oldham on Saturday if you're there. Like I think people will mostly be behind the team. But it was a cold night. People a little bit frustrated because we weren't at our best. But fucking hell, come on.
It's like I get the frustration, and I'm not at all saying that Pelly. Like I agreed with you. I didn't think he was the worst offender in the first half. I don't think he played well. He sets a better standard than that. We as a team set a better standard than what we did on Tuesday. All of that is true, but in the context of a 13-game unbeaten run, half hour left of the game, you're trying to break a team down, is jeering off a player who's clearly having a poor night at the office. Is that really the answer? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
save it. Someone will deserve it at some point. Save it for then.
there is a distinction here between like being frustrated and like you hear the groans around the ground. There's a distinction between that and like jeering or like clapping or cheering a player off. Like one of them is just like it's just kind of human nature.
Yeah.
You
You pay money to go watch a football match.
yeah,
Like, it's fair enough.
that's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's fine. And like evidently we've been as critical as anybody, probably more so over the last few years. So don't worry, like we get that bit of it, but there's a time and a place for jeering your players off the pitch, and you've just had ample opportunity at the back end of our time in League One to do that. So when we're sitting pretty in third spot, and we haven't lost a game since fuck knows when, and we've won so many games in a row, and you're talking about one of the best players in the league really coming off the pitch. I don't think there's any need to stoop as low. Basically, we are better than that as a fan base, I think.
Am I right in saying was that Notts County game BST still last weekend of October?
Oh, you might be right. Yeah, you might be on something.
We might not have lost a game in the league in GMT yet.
If Harris is made as a GMT use, that's
That's
remarkable.
remarkable.
Although it is also quite concerning because we are very much approaching BST again. I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. The running
Actually, when is it?
in BST.
How much longer we got?
Good question.
Do you know? Because obviously, look, we've got this run this run of fixtures coming up that we're on, which we talked about, I think, in the last preview show, or maybe it was one before it, where we sort of worked forwards and went, well, we're going to win all of our next 10. It's been a great start, but if that coincides with the clocks changing, there's an outside chance we might be promoted by the time that it starts getting light.
It's the 29th of March when it starts. So who do we
Oh
play?
my God!
It's pretty late. Hang on. 29th of March, we play Barnet away the day before.
Oh my God, we might get promoted before the clocks change. Sorry, we were just talking about not getting too carried away with expectations.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyway, I think that's enough of that stuff. Obviously, the second, I mean, there's been plenty to talk about in the end, but the second really big talking point was right at the end of the game. It kind of felt like it came from nothing as a moment. The Oldham fans I was just chatting to, class said it was a lucky penalty. I thought as an incident itself, in fact, I was surprised to hear it was mentioned again in the presser because I thought it was in an age of dissecting penalty decisions and every decision endlessly. I thought this was one that was open and shut, and a lot of Shrewsbury fans I've seen seem to agree. I mean, the guy slides in with his arms like raised at a right angle above his head. I can't even believe that it's still a discussion talking about it being a penalty. I understand the luck that we weren't necessarily knocking the door down to score a goal, but we've got ourselves in a position, we've won a penalty. Have you got any problems with the decision itself?
No, not at all. And not
given
just because...
by, sorry.
Oh yeah, Adam Marriot's sister, wasn't
Adam
it?
Marriot's sister.
Yeah. That was quite the bombshell, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah. Who were the other officials? What we had Danny Wright's cousin. We had
Antonio Murray's dad or something.
We had Wayne Gray's barber, and we had I've spent so long trying to block these players out of my mind. Simon Russell's niece as the fourth official. There we go. It is quite an obvious penalty. I don't think there can be any argument about it. I know Appleton kicked off a bit in his post-match interview about it, but it is clear as day a penalty.
Yeah,
I know it's one of those where there might be some people with the train of thought that the handball rule is a little bit frustrating, more than a little bit frustrating, because some people might think maybe it shouldn't be a penalty because there's not like loads he can do about his arms being in that position. But if you slide in the 91st minute and you're totally out of control of your body, I don't think you can have too many complaints about if it does hit your hand, it's a penalty. Both his arms are above his head. It hits him in the arm, it's a penalty. And also, look at it this way: he's obstructed a cross going in with his hand, so he's in. Who knows? Like
100%.
If he's not there, maybe it leaves someone to head it in. So simple as that. If you don't think it is, you're quite thick.
Yeah. You're saying that a few times tonight, which I quite rate.
Come out punching, come out swinging.
Yeah, love it. Ben Knight steps up to take the pen, tucks it away. Basically rolled it down the middle, didn't he? My angle of it in the NRE was absolutely awful for this. I was just looking at the net and genuinely just waiting for it to bulge. Different feeling to. I want to rewind to the end of November for you when Ben Knight stepped up in the last minute with the ball in his hand to take a spot kick against Crewe. Felt like a very different feeling, this one. Obviously, you're happy both times. But this one, there was a lot of relief for me, rather than maybe like the pure joy of that Crewe game, for example.
The one against Crewe, I've honest to God, I've never been so convinced I was going to miss a penalty in all my
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
fair credit for him for stepping up and then obviously dispatching that one. Yeah, the one at Shrewsbury was a bit weird because having said what we've said, like trying to defend certain aspects of the performance and so that things aren't maybe as bad as they might have seemed on Tuesday night. And as much as it definitely was a penalty, it didn't necessarily feel like we totally deserved it. So it was a bit more like we've kind of got away with one here, and if we do miss it, then well, we can't have too many complaints. But yeah, it's good. Like it's a really good penalty, and you just mentioned there we're in an era of over dissecting and over analyzing penalty decisions. We're also in recent memory of some quite interesting decisions of how to take pressurised late penalties with everything that happened in Morocco.
Yeah.
For the
It'd have
for
been
the African
remarkable
Cup
if
of Nations.
Shrewsbury had just walked off the pitch, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they should have done. They should have done. They should have done because then, well, I suppose he still might have stuck it down the middle and it probably would have got in. But I will say, I think it's weird because I've just mentioned the penalty in the African Cup of Nations finals, so this is going to sound quite strange saying it, but it does make a lot of sense to go down the middle late in the game, because keepers
Always
like
does.
how often do you see a keeper just stand still in the 90th minute? It looked mad. It looked insane. So
You just got
yeah,
to sell it right, haven't you? Like Knight sold it really well, or as in what he didn't telegraph it, whereas Bream has. I mean, I didn't think we'd start talking about the African Cup of Nations
have you
final today,
seen?
to be honest,
I
but
know,
it's
I know, like I know this is a bit of a tangent and almost as far away from Cambridge United related as you can possibly get. But did you see that Mbappe scored a Panenka for Madrid?
oh yeah, I did see it, and then he
was
like
like,
dedicated it to him, didn't he?
yeah, like that's just not what you want to see at all, is it? It's like that's how you do it, mate.
It's the
There you go.
last thing I want, Killian.
Yeah, maybe Ben Knight could have dedicated his to Brahim Diaz. I don't know.
Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe.
really good for him. And I'll tell you what, we've spoken about maybe one or two individual performances, but I think Knight was probably the one player that I think really did show a little bit on Tuesday. There wasn't loads in terms of like properly making stuff happen. He went on that one really good run, like basically right at the striker half time, which who knows on another day maybe he can do a little bit better with, or maybe gets clipped and it's a penalty or something like that. It's again, it's the desire and it's the willingness to get on the ball for me that I really like Ben Knight. Almost set up a goal as well. I think he did really well to get around the defender and set up Apre, I think it was, who arguably can do better from 2 or 3 yards out. But yeah, just well deserved. I think he's now our top scorer in the league. I think
Four
over the
and
last
five as well
couple of
recently, I
games,
think.
I did think the same on Saturday as well. Like, I did feel like he was driving us forward quite a lot. Obviously, the Walsall games, the standout performance as well. So he's having a good month. Fair play to him.
Yeah, he really is. I'm going to blow your mind right now and tell you that Ben Knight and Brahim Diaz were at Man City at the same time.
Were they really?
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, they were both at the club at the same time, but Brahim Diaz in 2019 was a first team player, and Knight was 1 year into his youth. He'd have been 18 and in the youth team. So I'm sure they trained together.
Makes you think, well, like, what is Guardiola teaching at Man City?
Sticking pens down the middle.
Can't be too many. Can't be too many podcasts related to dedicated to League Two football teams that would mention Brahim Diaz, the African Cup of Nations final, Kylian Mbappe, and Pep Guardiola all within about 5 minutes.
And now Oldham away. How many are doing that? Let's get a preview of that because that's what we need right now, I think. Lovely preview coming up here with Matt and Dave from the Latics Football Phone-In. Right, yous fans, it's time to get our fan preview ahead of Saturday's game. I'm joined by Matt and Dave from the Latics Football Phone-In. Two for the price of one, lads. How are you both?
Hello, we're great. Thanks. How are you?
Yep,
Good.
really good.
Hello.
Thanks
I
for
speak on
joining.
behalf of Dave.
It's going to be interesting this because to sort of let people in behind the scenes, I can't see you at all, so we can't do any sort of nods and winks to know who's talking. So you're gonna have to figure it out between yourselves. But either Matt or Dave, you decide. How's your season been so far?
Dave?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think coming up from the football National League into the Football League so late, we were a month behind everyone else because we won the playoffs in a fantastic game against Southend. But we made a few signings. We were a bit late with a striker towards the start of the season, but we've sort of found our way. We've pitted our wits against the likes of Gillingham, Swindon, even you guys. That was a surprising result back in. Was that back in August? I think
September. First weekend of September. I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm relatively happy. Mid-table, and it's a consolidation season. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Was that the expectations pre-season? Just consolidate, let's go again next year, try and push on.
Pretty much, I think. Yeah, I think most reasonable sort of fans would expect would be happy with that. I mean, my prediction for the standings at the end of the season was that we'd finish 7th, which was ambitious, but I think it's still possible. But I was just riding high on getting promoted, I think, as much as anything. Our first promotion in like 34 years, so we're allowed to get a bit giddy. But yeah, we've got a really mean defence. I think your defence is the best defence in the league after the weekend. But a good indicator was of how well we've done this season so far is that Barnet finished 30 points ahead of us last season as the champions of the National League, and we were like one place below them on the same points come Saturday just gone when we played them. We lost 3-2. I don't know how they won that game, but they did. It was one of those kind of games. So, we've really made ground on Barnet in that respect. So I think we can all be very happy, really.
Yeah, it says a lot. You mentioned the defence there, which was a point I was going to bring up, that, just after us, and I think there's only a goal in it. You've only conceded a goal more than us to have the meanest defence, and you are the only side to beat us at the Abbey as well. No one's managed to beat us at our place all season. So I think, weirdly enough, for our fans, we consider Oldham this year to be like a really good side. We're thinking this is a really tough fixture. Is that what's your form like at Boundary Park, and is that sort of is that true? Are people struggling to win there?
It's hit and miss. We usually start quite slow at home, and we'll play nice football for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then we'll usually go behind. We did that against Cheltenham. We did that against Colchester and Swindon, and they dispatched us quite quickly in about 20 minutes. But we do start slow at home. But when the crowd gets behind Latics, we will go for the result, and we don't just sit for a draw. We really do go for it, and it just depends who he starts, because we've got players such as Kane Drummond, Mike Fondop, Joe Quigley,
Joe Garner.
Yeah, Joe Garner, 38 years old, and he's putting our younger lads to shame. He's an absolute club legend and hero for us. He's been a stalwart this season. We missed him at the start of the season, but he came back and he's firing on all cylinders. And yeah, our defence, Manny Month, Donovan Daniels, what's the lad called? Is it Jamie Roberts at the back?
No, Robson.
Jamie Robson, sorry, we signed for Forest Green. He's a player to look out for. He's absolutely outstanding.
The thing is, this season it's early on, particularly earlier on in the season, we were missing chances left, right, and centre. We were absolutely battering teams at Boundary Park and coming away with draws. Our away form, we've got more points on the road than we have at home, but it's been one of those seasons where we could be a lot further up the table just if one or two of those chances had gone in in 3 or 4 games, and it would have made all the difference. So we're a really difficult side to beat, but we've been very wasteful in front of goal. Hopefully, we were on the back of a good run. 1 defeat in 7. Not as good a run as you were on. 13 undefeated and 5 on the bounce. I do have to take issue with that last win against Shrewsbury, though, because our game was postponed against Barrow on Tuesday. So I thought, I'm going to check out Saturday's opposition, watch the Cambridge-Shrewsbury game.
I'm sorry to hear that, mate.
Absolutely shocking. I knew in my head that if I wanted to watch a quality game of football, I'd be better off with Notts County v Swindon. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to watch Cambridge and Shrewsbury, see what all the fuss is about. And it was absolutely dire. And you really, really got lucky with that penalty right at the end as well to win the game. But the sign of a side that's doing well is the team that will win games like that. So fair play, you got the victory. But in terms of the quality of the performance, I think that we've certainly got nothing to fear. You might go in and fear a team that are on such a great run. It has to come to an end at some point. Hopefully, we're on decent
Do
form
the
as
double.
well.
Do the
I mean,
double.
two meanest defences in the division. Is it going to be 0-0?
Yeah,
it's one of them.
Seems obvious, doesn't it?
I think there'll be goals. I think there'll be goals. I think
Yeah.
there will be goals. Because on our day at home, we do have the capacity to beat anybody, and I think we'll edge it on Saturday. I think.
Okay. Well, what about the manager? I was going to ask you, what's the story with the manager then, and what sort of formation do you normally play?
Well, we played 4-4-2 on Saturday against Barnet, which we haven't done for a while.
Stevens is back though, isn't he?
Yeah, we got Jack Stevens is back. He's a really good player. He's like our main signing.
Flair player.
Play on the wing or as a number 10. He played. Our sort of most used formation this season has been like 4-1-3-2 formation. So we've not had much width. But with Stevens back and Hawks back in the squad, we were probably more likely to want to play with a bit more width. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went with a 4-4-2 again. It
depends.
Saturday.
You've got a defence. You've got a few big guys at the back, but you're quite lethargic. You're quite slow at the back. So I think Drummond nipping in behind could be a big option.
I think Drummond will start. Up.
He's
top.
been outstanding.
Yeah, Drummond and Garner will probably start up top, and then Pett started out on the right, Stevens on the left. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started with the same team. But you asked about Mickey Mellon. He does sometimes change it around. Sometimes
overly cautious, I'd say.
He is. We've got one of the best defensive records on the division for a reason. But I think on top of that, he's trying to build a solid foundation. And
we lost against Barnet on Saturday because we got the equaliser and then we went to consolidate for the draw.
That was on the manager though. I think it was on the players.
Don't know if you wanted to bomb forward when there's 10 men. I think if you play for a draw against Barnet, you will get beat because they are a dangerous side. He got it wrong. He just got it wrong, and it's fine because he got us promoted, and it's Mickey Mellon.
I disagree, but that's often the case for me and Dave. Like I think the players kind of
too cautious. It was too cautious, and they were on the ropes, and he played for the draw, and he shouldn't have done.
No.
End of.
I disagree with that.
You're wrong.
As usual,
you're bang wrong.
Well, do you know what, lads? I'll tell you this: that I think we've had this conversation plenty of times on our own podcast about Neil Harris. So I don't know what that says about Saturday. To be honest, we nearly gifted Fleetwood a couple of points for the exact same reason a couple of weeks ago, but managed to get away with it. There's a lot of us getting away with stuff at the moment. I'll tell you that for free. What about, so you mentioned a couple of key men there, Drummond and Stevens, but what about flipping it the other way around? What might be a weakness that, if you were like Neil Harris's scouting, what might be a weakness that you'd look to exploit in an Oldham side?
Our midfield is really, really lacking in terms of Woods tries to do everything. Pett playing out wide when he should be central midfield. Kai Payne, he's either really good or really bad. I think a bit of inexperience in Donovan Daniels, although he's a tried and tested player, he is probably one of our weakest defenders out.
The poor game on Saturday,
and he conceded a penalty against Cheltenham. He's not. I
think it's a bit harsh. I think I understand there are for it. The midfield could be better, but I think realistically, the midfield and the defence, the team have kept the whole team have kept the amount of clean sheets and not conceded that many goals. So you've got to give them credit for that. I think if anything, it's been our lack of threat in front of goal. That's been our biggest weakness this season, is not taking the chances. We conceding as few goals as we do. You only need one or two extra goals and we'd be right up there. So it's been our lack of
creativity.
Well, I don't even think it's been a lack of creativity. I think it's been just poor finishing that has led to not getting enough goals from around the pitch. But Stevens was back. He scored with his first chance on Saturday.
Yeah.
Pett scored from midfield. So we're two.
Drummond needs 2 or 3. Quigley needs 12 attempts at goal before he gets. Quigley. I don't know why we signed him, to be fair, but he does try.
So that might be our
Quigley hat trick on Saturday now for that one.
Well, hopefully that might be our biggest. Against a mean defense like yours, scoring might be the biggest problem.
Yeah, I would say the same for us. So maybe we should go back 0-0. Well, I mean, you've given us a little prediction already, but to wrap it up, I wondered what both your predictions are for a scoreline, and also we always like to ask this a little bit on the spot, but for away games, if there's any pubs that you might recommend away fans listening to go to, do let us know.
Well, I'll go first with the predictions. I think we're going to win. I think it'll be I'm going to go with 2. I was going to say 1-0, but I'm not fancying us for a clean sheet. 2-1 to Oldham. Your unbeaten run coming to an end, rightfully at Boundary Park. It's a good. If you're going to lose a game, you do it at Boundary Park. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to be doing it at somewhere like Crawley or something like that.
No, that's true. To be fair, we go there. We go there next week. So
right. So you don't want that. Yeah, maybe we get beat by a proper football club like Oldham, and then that's not too bad. And in terms, what's your prediction, Dave?
I'm going to go 2-1 Oldham.
Yeah, but so we agree on that. That's our prediction. In terms of the pubs, there's not as many pubs around there as there used to be, but the Greyhound is a good pub to go to. The Rifle Range, as well. I think there's usually quite a few away fans going.
Loads in the town centre as well, isn't there?
Yeah, you could nip into the Georgian.
Yeah, the Georgian's really good. Also the Fox and Pine.
Fox and Pine's a good one in the town centre. Yeah, so
all right, a few options then.
Yeah,
definitely the Georgian though for me.
Brilliant. Well, I look forward to making the trip on Saturday. Thanks a lot for joining, lads.
It's our pleasure. And I'm sorry that it's not that we're like sat in a dark room or we just didn't want you to see us. For whatever reason, the camera is just not playing ball.
No,
you got faces for the radio, is it?
Yeah, we really have. Yeah, we really have.
Yeah.
Nice one. Listen, well, you're going to join us on the Last-gasp football phone in a few minutes. You'll see us then.
I am. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to unveil the curtain.
Absolutely.
All right,
let's put some clothes on there.
Yeah. Cheers, lads. Double trouble this time, Tom, Matt and Dave. Like a sort of modern northern version of Jazz and Dave, I guess. They got the second best defence in the league after us, Oldham. That's kind of the headline here. Are you expecting it to be a tough challenge?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like just because they're a pretty miserly team, aren't they? And they did a job on us at the Abbey as well, which obviously is still kind of in the memory. I think so, yeah. I mean, like you did point out as well on Tuesday night, which is an absolutely fair point, and one that I've kind of come round to a little bit more in the last couple of days is like they're also 16th in League Two.
Yeah,
like at some point this unbeaten run's going to come to an end, right? So as confident as we are, and as much as we're enjoying watching us at the moment for the most part, like there is going to come a point where we do end up with some egg on our face and look a little bit stupid. So this might be it, but I would give it a try anyway. How worried should we be as the team that are third in the league, the form team in the country, really, at the moment? How worried should we be about going to 16th in League Two? Should that be a really, really worrying thing, or should we actually back ourselves to go there and get at least something out of the game?
No, I mean, I agree with you. I was going to say there's kind of two ways to look at this game, and I'm kind of coming around to thinking what you're saying there, because like one way of looking at it is they're 17th in the home form table as well, so it's not like it's even a particular fortress to go to. But they've only lost once at home since August, which was to Walsall. They're tied with Jules for the most draws in the league, and as we said, second best defence, which is worth bearing in mind. Just as like, they're clearly a tough side to break down. But then the other side of that coin, which is what you're saying, is they're 16th. Like clearly they've not been consistent enough over the course of the season to put together any sort of decent run or challenge loads of teams. Also notice that their striker Michael Mellon's injured at the moment. He's a higher scorer, 7 goals. Okay, higher than any of our scorers. But below him, so of players available on Saturday, their top scorer has got 3 goals, and that's 37-year-old Joe Garner. Their fans on the preview, I just heard, they mentioned that Kane Drummond's going to be a threat. He scored 1 goal all season. 1. Like, I'm not saying that, Apparatus is free-flowing striker. I'm just saying, I'm kind of just coming around to this point. I think it'll be tough. I don't think we go there, and I'm not expecting to win the game. I think even if we do win it, I think it'll be a really tough opposition to go face, tough place to go, all of this. I can keep saying tough. But I do think you can go into it with, a bit more confidence than we sometimes have done.
We're going to do the rounds on the Oldham Athletic Network. Clips of us saying, should we be so worried about going to 16th in the league? Kane Drummond's only scored 1 goal all season.
When he scores that trick and beats us, yeah.
Especially with Harrogate away on the horizon, you'd think we'd be more prepared for this sort of thing. I mean, I think it's a fair point. Like it has to be, right? I mean, that's not getting too carried away, is it? I suppose talking of sort of low top goal scorer stats, until Tuesday night, our joint top goal scorer was a centre half with 4. So there is that, but yeah, I mean, I just think in the form we're in and the way that we've been playing for most of the last sort of 3 or 4 months, you surely have to go to some relative confidence, I think.
think you'd be a bit silly not to go into it with some confidence.
But obviously, it's tough. I mean, I guess it's different because Oldham are at home, and as I said, like their home records are not great, so maybe that's something they're gonna have to look to improve, and that means they have to be on the front foot a little bit more. But if they sit in and they make it difficult for us in the way that Shrewsbury did, I am a little bit concerned. Like I mentioned earlier on, right at the start, I do think Shrewsbury have maybe created something of a blueprint. Like obviously, it won't just be Oldham that have watched or will analyse that game. It'll be all the other teams are playing as well. Obviously, there's a couple, like we've said, that are down there at the bottom scrapping for their lives, who would very much see us either coming to town or them coming to the Abbey especially, and they'll look at it and be like, a point's not a bad result here, and the best way to get a point might be to do this. So we are going to have to find a way. And yeah, I think like, look, we've certainly got enough about us to do it. It's just, yeah, like I guess the obvious question is, can we do it? And if we can do it, and we do it, then bullishness will absolutely shoot through the roof.
I think this is one of those, I actually think it's, this is sort of the theory that I had on Tuesday that I haven't quite really thought yet, but let's just test it out and see how it goes. I actually think this is the perfect game for us right now. The reason I say that is I think if we win, the ceiling is so high. Like the bullishness goes through the roof. You got then Harrogate, Crawley and Bristol Rovers after that. I think if we win this, that train home on Saturday night will feel particularly bullish. 14 unbeaten, 6 on the trot. But I also think it's a sort of game that if we lose, I don't think the narrative's that bad. I think you go, Oldham away, yeah, they don't concede many goals. All right, they've only lost once at home since August. You probably spin it like it had to come to an end at some point. You've got the perfect game to bounce back against on Saturday. So I'm not saying it's win-win. I'm just saying that I think the narrative's not that bad.
Well, that's quite literally the opposite of win-win, isn't it?
It's win-lose. Yeah.
Yeah.
and we could draw it as well. In fact, I do think we could potentially be in for an almighty boring football match.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I predicted this as 0-0 on Moosenet about 3 weeks ago, so I'm not expecting to change that prediction anytime soon. It's the most nailed on stalemate of all time, isn't it?
I think it is, mate. Like I think we approach it as Harris would approach most away games, and look to sort of take a point from it. And
is there any chance that is there any chance it literally just becomes like trench warfare? The ball, like the ball somewhere in the middle of no man's land, and you've got us on the, you've got. What
side are we on?
Should we? Well, the problem is, I suppose, as we're the away team, we're technically the bad guys. But that's that's maybe a wormhole we don't want to go. I tell you what, we'll do that on the train on the way there.
Yeah.
If we'll maybe have to make a tier above the coconut tier if people can pay there to listen to that conversation. But it's definitely not one for the airwaves.
Do you know what I was thinking? Is it going to be a bit like, those games you get in the World Cup at the last group stage game when a point sends both teams through? They just pass it around for like 10 minutes. Maybe it'll just be that for 90 minutes.
Or more pleasingly, the last 10 minutes that Huddersfield Barnsley game that sent Posh down.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That for 90 minutes. What a trip. I can't wait. Press and news, nothing much really. Harris mentioned he thinks we lack a bit of something in strength and depth, which is a fair point, but he doesn't expect anything before Saturday. No new injuries. Kwasi Mayer 6 weeks away, just as a little update. I assume Smith's back just because he didn't mention it, but I think from last week he said he'd be back, not Tranmere, but maybe Shrewsbury or Oldham, so Smith might be in contention. What would you do in terms of lineup? We just spoke about we would have changed a few things for Tuesday. Does that performance give you even more license to not necessarily mix it up a bit, but introduce a few fresher legs maybe?
I think a little bit, definitely. Look, we're on a great run, and while we weren't good against Shrewsbury, we weren't like we contained them to very little. So it doesn't, you don't need to basically chuck the baby out with the bathwater with it and just be like, right, let's rip it all up and go again. Like, frankly, I think that would be quite a strange thing to do, given the run of form that we're on. There's definitely room for a couple of changes up front. Like that has to change for me. I wouldn't be against maybe dropping. I mean, it probably shouldn't be Ben Knight, but it might be Ben Knight. One of the sort of two in behind the one, if that makes sense. Drop one of them and bring in and Abraham and start with two up front and have like one attack in mid behind them. I wouldn't mind seeing that. It might just help us get out a little bit more. It might help us get out of them a little bit more and give Oldham something a little bit different to think about. So I wouldn't mind that, but there definitely has to be at least one change up front. I think Nevitt probably has to start. I think the change in centre mid would be good as well. Don Ball's come on to pretty decent effect, I think, in the last couple of games.
But that's a really good point.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him come into the side. And, it does feel like a game where a bit of experience might be quite good. So, that might see Hoddle drop out maybe. But yeah, other than that, like I probably wouldn't be changing loads. Maybe there's an argument that, you have Gibbons as one of the wing backs rather than as one of the centre backs, and maybe you push Brophy more central if you're going to drop one of those two sort of 10s, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that. I wouldn't be surprised to see. And then that means that maybe we're a bit more sound defensively, but yeah, basically don't change too much. I think there's a couple of obvious areas that could do a tweaking, but other than that, just try and keep it as simple as possible.
They play 4-4-2, which is quite interesting. I wonder if he matches up a 4-4-2 with a 4-4-2. Maybe goes Nevitt and Lavery or something. Big man, little man. I don't know. I don't think it makes it up that much. It's just a theory. I think I'm with you. I think Ball is probably the one that I do expect to come in, to be honest with you. That's probably the one that's even more than Appere. I would definitely make a change up top, but just hearing the way Harris is speaking about Appere in the presser just now, I'm not quite sure if that's as cut and dried as maybe we want it to be. But anyway, it also might be a game that suits Appere. I don't know. I'm not sure possession-wise if Oldham are a team that like to have the ball or not. It might be one of those, like we said, no one wants to have the ball. Anyway, Tom, I think that's enough. I'll see you nice and early Saturday morning for a nice trip up to the trenches, and we can have a good day out. Nice 0-0 draw. Can't wait.
Yeah, that should be good. Up to the trenches. Yeah, that's something to look forward to.
Okay, it's glazed over now. See you later, everyone.